Hello, I'm Rod Braun. I'm the discipline director for the histology subject and embryology as well, but what I want to talk about today is histology CBLs or laboratories, and I'm going to give a quick tutorial on how to use our virtual microscopy software web-scope. So you can access our virtual microscopy page in a couple different ways. If you happen to be on Canvas, you can get on the virtual microscopy page through Canvas. Here we are on the Foundations unit. You can see here's the unit page, and over here on the left, we're at home now. Right here is SOM virtual microscopy. If you click on that link, it will take us to the, if I hit open new tab, it'll take us to our virtual microscopy page. You can also get there by just typing in webslide.med.wayne.edu, or you can bookmark that site on your own computer. So there's a couple different ways to access it. So let me go back to here. We're on the virtual microscopy page, and the way this is set up, you can see on the left we have the current curriculum, the MD1, Fundamentals of the Healthy Patient, and you can see here it's histology, microanatomy, CBL lab sessions over here on the left. On the right is year 2. This is for the current year 2 students because they use the same software in pathobiology and pathophysiology. So these are their units over here in CBLs. So we're going to focus here on the left. This is what we'll be using in our current curriculum now. And you'll use this in the histology portion of the curriculum. And you can see we have 18 sessions throughout the year, 18 labs. You can see in Foundations, we only have 1. You see musculoskeletal system has 4, and you can go down the different systems. You'll have at least 1 lab in every system here going throughout the year. So these will be sessions. The laboratory sessions, excuse me, will work in, you'll work in groups of 3 or 4 students at a computer station, and you'll work through a lab guide that will be distributed to you. So what you'll do to access the slides that will be used in that lab is you'll go over here, left click on lab 1. This takes us to the first lab in Foundations, Epithelia and Glands. And over here on the left, you can see a list of the 12 slides that will be used. You can see there's 12 slides. There's a name of the slide, sort of what the topic is. You can see in this slide, we're going to demonstrate simple squamous epithelium in a slide of the kidney, and this WSO49, that's just our name for the slide. And you can see there are 12 of those. And in the lab guide, it'll take you through each of these slides. So to open one of these slides, you just go over to the number here, you left click on that, and that will open up the software web-scope. And you can see here's our virtual microscopy slide of this histological section of the kidney. Okay, and it will open in the default magnification, which is also called the fit magnification. And down here, this is the zoom bar. Let me just highlight this. This is the, whoops, this is the zoom bar here. All right, and you can see in that zoom bar, it gives you the current magnification at 0.3x. Now, that's the fit magnification. It fits that section into the screen at that magnification. That's going to vary from slide to slide. It can also vary from computer to computer. It'll try to fit it into onto the screen. So in this case, it's 0.3x. So I want to start by just navigating around the slide. So this here, just start off, this is our section we are looking at right here, all right, the kidney. This box up here is the thumbnail window. So this box right here. And I'll come back to that a bit later, because we're going to use that. That will basically tell us where we are looking at in the overall section. And I'll talk about that a bit more in a few minutes. So to navigate around the slide, you can just, here's the finger. If you see, I'm doing that with the mouse. If you grab it with the left click, you can just drag the section around. All right, so let's say we want to look at this area right in here at higher magnification. Well, to do that, to look at higher magnification, it has to be, the area of interest has to be in the center of the field. So we can grab it and move it to the center of the field. And then if we go up in magnification, for example, I want to go to 10x, go to the zoom window, click on 10x, and there it is. That's our area of interest. I'm going to erase that there. All right. So another way to do it, I'll go back to fit. Another way is to left click over your area of interest. That will center the field, but it also increases the magnification in this software. So let me do that again. I'll go fit. It's at 0.3x. If I left click, it does center it, but it's changed the magnification to 0.6x. So you just have to keep that in mind if you center by left clicking. That's a convenient way to do that. So to change magnification, once you're in your area of interest, you can use, as I did before, this zoom bar. These are the default magnifications for this slide. 1x, 4x, 8x, 10x, 20x, and 40x. And that'll vary a bit from slide to slide. Some of them are a bit different. And I just want to say, if you actually, 1x is actually 2x. If you click on 1x, you can see it brings up 2x. Most likely, it's about 1.8x or something like that, and it gets rounded on the button, but not in the field here. So that takes us to that mag. If you want to go to 4x, you just click on 4x. So let me go back to fit. That's one way to do it, is to use the zoom bar. Another way to change magnification is to use the mouse wheel. So I'm going to use the mouse wheel here and watch at the bottom of the zoom bar. That's the current magnification. You can see it change, 0.7x, 1x, 3.2x. So you can see here we can go to different magnifications. All right? Another way to do it is to use a slide bar up here. You can see now we're changing the magnification as well. So those are a couple ways, a few ways to change magnification. And in the lab guide, we might say, you know, in the lab guide, there'll be an area circled like this area, and it'll say, go to that area and look at a magnification of 10x. Okay, so you could do center it, and then you go to 10x, and there's that area at 10x. And I do want to say one thing, a lot of times in the lab guide, we'll say to look at something at 5x, because that's a very common magnification with microscopes. So there isn't a 5x button. So a way to do that is to, let me click on this area, is to click on 4x. So we're at 4x now, and then just left click over it again, and it takes you to 5x. Of course, you can also use the mouse wheel and get pretty close to 5x. And so this would match an image in your lab guide, and you go through and answer questions about this. So that's how to change magnification. The other thing I want to show you is going back to the thumbnail window. As I said, this tells you where you are on the slide. So you can see this on the overall slide, the section. We are in that area with the red rectangle right there. Okay, and that's at 1.8x. If I go up to 10x, okay, now we're at a much higher magnification, and look at the thumbnail window over here. Our rectangle has gotten much smaller because we're looking at a much smaller portion of the overall section. So that's a way to use the thumbnail. It gives you an orientation where you are on the slide. You can also, if you want, use the thumbnail to navigate. If you want to look at this area without going to lower magnification, you can just click on the thumbnail. That will take you to that area. You see our box moved. So that's another way you can navigate if you wish. So the thumbnail, sometimes I'll just say, you can see this might get in the way. If it does, here's the menu bar up here. So you can see the first button up here, it says thumbnail. If I click on that, thumbnail disappears. You can bring it back. If you don't like using the menu bar, if you are on the section and just right click, it brings up this menu, and here's thumbnail there. I can right click again, thumbnail comes back. Same thing with the zoom bar. The zoom toolbar is the second icon here on this tool menu bar up here. So if we click on that, the zoom bar goes away. we can bring it back by clicking on that. Same thing again, I'll just go through it. If you right click, you can also have that here. That's the toolbar, it goes away. Toolbar goes away. All right, there's some other features on the menu bar that you might find useful. We're not going to use too many of them. This is a one that we might use that's somewhat useful. That's the third button here, brightness and contrast, because sometimes the slides are a little faded or dim or something, and it might help if you enhance the contrast or the brightness. So I'll show you how to do that. You click on that, and it's pretty easy. We can make it a little darker, take the brightness down, increase the contrast a bit, and you can just apply it. And there's our slide now. I don't think this one needed too much, but you can see it increased the contrast a bit. So that's something you can do on every slide if it helps you visualize the slide better. There are some other features. Here's a rectangle tool, ellipse tool, and an arrow tool. That just lets you annotate. So I'll use, if you want to show somebody something or come back to it. So there's the arrow. Say I want to mark that right there. And of course that will stay around. Whoops. I didn't, let me fit that again. Center that. And if we bring this up in higher magnification, you can see it stays as you increase and change magnification. Now, the only thing we ask, you can annotate these, but don't save the annotations, because anything you mark on here will stay on there. And actually, if you save it, it'll go to the server and everybody will see it. So don't hit that button here, the little diskette, save annotations. So don't save the annotations. If we close it, I'm going to go to a different slide here. Okay. Actually, it's the same slide. It's the next, just the next selection. But you can see our annotation went away. So as long as you don't save it, that's fine. And you can use those annotation features. So those are the major tools that we'll be using and the way to navigate around the section. And as I said, there are directions in the lab guide to navigate using the software. So you should practice using this a bit, and you'll be using it a lot in the 18 labs, and you'll get used to that as well. The one last thing I want to show is at the end of every lab, you'll have to do a little post-lab quiz, and there's a button down here, and go to quiz. Okay, so you'll do this as a group together, and you have to give us your access ID, and this would take you to the quiz. And so you have to answer the questions. And once you complete these satisfactory, you'll notify the lab instructor, and they'll clear you to leave the lab. The lab's completed at that point. So those are the features you will be using on the Webscope page and the virtual microscopy page. And of course, if you have any questions about this, you can always contact me to answer the questions, or you can ask your lab instructor too. As I said, once you do this a few times, you'll get very good at using this throughout the course. And of course, you'll be using the same software in the next segment of the curriculum for pathobiology and pathophysiology. So thanks for your attention, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.